Let's build a real-time chat application by using NodeJs, ExpressJs, and Socket.io for backend server, and React for front-end client. First, let me show you the demo for this chat application. We visit localhost 4000. It will show the page, ask us to enter username. So let's enter username like Jim to join the chat. In the second browser, let's also enter username like Kevin to join the chat. Then we'll go to the chat page. In its input field, we can type a message like hello. Then we can click this send button to send the message. We will see in the chat list, it will show Jim, hello. And in second browser, it also will show Jim, hello. In second browser, let's type a message like hey. You will see it will show Kevin, hey. And in the first browser, it also will show the Kevin, hey. In desktop, let's create a new folder. Let's give the name chat app. Let's open this new folder. In this folder, let's create a new folder. Give the name server. We will build this application starts from backend server. Then let's drag this server folder to Visual Studio Code. In Visual Studio Code, let's open a new terminal. In terminal, we will run npm init-y to start a new Node.js project in this folder. Let's press enter. It will create a package JSON file in this folder. Then let's create a new file. Let's give the name index.js. Then let's add a package to our project. So npm I for install. We will install Express Socket.io. We will add these two packages to our project. Then let's press enter. After a while, in package.json file, you can see in dependencies it will add Express and Socket.io. Then let's go to index.js file. In index.js file, let's first import Express. So const Express equal to require Express. Let's also import HTTP from standard library. So we can use this HTTP to create a HTTP server. So const HTTP equal to require HTTP from standard library. Then let's import a server class from socket.io. So const a pair of curly brackets server start with uppercase S equal to require socket.io. Let's first create a variable port. Let's give it a value 3000. Then let's create an instance of Express. So const app equal to will call Express function. Then let's create a HTTP server. So variable server equal to HTTP. Create a server. We'll pass a app as argument. So Express will handle all the requests for this HTTP server. Then let's create an instance for socket.io server. So const io equal to will call new server. First argument will pass a HTTP server as argument. So it will attach socket.io server to this HTTP server. Second argument, we will configure course origin HTTP localhost 4000. Later, we will serve our front-end client on localhost 4000, so our front-end client can visit this backend server. Let's also add methods get and post, so it will allow method get and post. Then let's call IO on method. We will use this IO to listen on all the connection. So the first argument will pass a string value connection. Then second argument we will pass a arrow function. So when a new connection connect to this socket IO server, it will fire this arrow function. This arrow function can capture socket. So in this function, we'll pass a parameter socket. Let's use console log new connection. We can use this socket parameter to receive message from front-end client. So socket.on, we will listen on the message. So first argument will pass argument message. Then second argument we will also pass a function. This function can capture the message data, so we'll pass a parameter data. After we receive the message sent from front-end client, then we need to send this message to all the connection client. So here we will use io.emit to send this message data to all the client. First argument will pass a string value message. This will be event name message. Second argument will pass this data. This socket can only receive message from one specific client. Then we use this IO to send this message to all the connection clients. Last, let's start our server. So server.listen. Then we'll pass this port as first argument. So this server will listen on this port. Then let's console log. Server is listening on port. This port. In terminal, let's run node index. Press enter. So you will see it will show the message server is listening on port 3000. So we just finished our socket IO backend server. Then let's work on front-end client. Let's generate a React project for front-end client. Let's open a terminal. Let's type a cd. Then let's drag this chat app folder into the terminal. Then let's press enter. It will change the directory to this chat app. This directory, let's generate a React project. So we will run npm create wait at the latest. Then its project name, we give a client. Then template React. Let's press enter. Use roll down wait. Let's just choose no. Install with npm and start now. Let's press yes. It will take a while. Then it will start our React project in localhost 4173. Let's just shut down it. Press Ctrl C. Let's close this terminal. Let's open a new window for Visual Studio Code. Let's open this chat app. You can see it will get a new folder named client. This is React project. Then let's drag this client to Visual Studio Code. In Visual Studio Code, let's open a new terminal. Then let's install socket.io client to the React project. In terminal, we will run npm install socket.io -client. Press enter. In package.json file dependencies, it will add a socket.io client. Then let's go to src folder. In app.css file, let's remove all this CSS. And the index.css, let's also remove all this. Then in main.jsx file, let's remove this structure model. If we use this structure model, every time it will re-render twice. We just only want it re-render once. In src folder, let's create a new file. Let's give the name socket.js. In this file, we will use socket.io to connect to the backend server. So first, let's import io from socket.io client. Import a pair of curly brackets io from socket.io client. Then let's create a socket variable equal to, we'll call io. Then is the backend server address will be ws //localhost port 3000. Then let's also export this socket variable. So later we will use this variable in other files. So export const socket. We use IO to connect to backend server in separate file. So this will only connect to backend server once. If we put this in the component, every time it re-render, it will reconnect to the backend server. So we don't want that to happen. So we put this in socket.js file, in a separate file. In app.css file, we add some class to make our application prettier. Then let's go to app.jsx file. So in its app component, let's remove some code. Here we don't need this. And let's remove this data. In its return, let's remove all. First, let's define state. Let's give the name message. Site message. We use this state message to store the user input message content. So use state hook. Let's give the initial value an empty string. Let's create another state message list site message list. We will use this data to store each message. Let's call use state hook. We give it an initial value an empty array. Let's create a third state username site username. We use this data to store the user input username. So use this data. Let's give the initial value an empty string. Let's create a last state. Has username site has username. We use this data to check whether or not user input a username. So use this data hook. Let's give it an initial value, boolean value, false. Then let's call use effect hook to operate some actions. Let's give it dependencies empty array. So this use effect hook will run once when its component mount. In its use effect hook, first let's create a function. Let's give the name add a message equal to. We'll pass the arrow function. This arrow function will add a parameter data. We use this function to add a new message to the message list. So site message list will pass arrow function as argument. This arrow function can capture previous state from this message list. So let's give it a name prev. Then we will return a new list. This new list will contain the new message with this previous state prev. We will add a new message at first. So first is data, then prev. Then let's use socket to listen on the message event. First, we need to import socket from this socket.js file. So import a pair of curly brackets socket from the slash socket is file. Then we will call socket the on method to listen on event message. After we listen on this message event, so every time we get a new message, we can fire a function. So we'll pass this add a message function as the second argument. So when we get the new message, it will fire this function. This function can capture the new message, then it will add this new message to this message list. Last will return to close the event. So we will call socket off to close message event. Let's define a function to send a message to the backend server. So let's create a function, send a message equal to error function. We will call socket the emit method. Then event name message will send the message with current username. So user name plus colon plus message. Let's go to this return. In this block, let's first add a pair of curly brackets. In this pair of curly brackets, we can write a JSX. So we can write a JavaScript code. First, let's check is user input a username. So we add an exclamation marker. It means user didn't add a username. We add a question marker. So if user not input a username, let's add a div element. We will ask a user to add a username. Let's add a class. Name will be chat container. This chat container will just add a display and justify content center. We'll move the content in the center. We give it a height 100 of each and the background color. In this div, let's add another div. So this div will in the center of this div. Let's also add a class name chat and input name. This chat will give it a width and height, background color, and position relative, and border radius and border shadow. This input name, we just specify a height for it. Then in this div, let's add a input field type text value. We get a value with username. Then let's add a onChange event. We'll pass error function. This error function can capture event. We give it a event name e. In this closure, we'll set the input username to the username state. So set username. Then we can get a user input value from this event e. So e target value. Let's also add a placeholder. Let's add a value username to ask the user to input a username. Then let's add a button. Let's add a value like a John. Then we'll add a onClick event. We'll pass a error function as argument. Then after user input a username, set the hides username to true, so we give the value true. Let's also add a disable attribute for this button. Disabled equal to if user input an empty string, so we want this button stay disabled. So we will call user name the trim if equal to empty string. So this button will disabled. After this div block, let's add a colon. So This part is user not input username. So after this colon will be user input username. So we will show the message component inside the div element. This div element inside the class name, child, container. This div inside another div inside the class name, child. This inside another div inside the class name, message container. This message container will add a padding, max width, height, and max height. This part will reverse the message array. If we display message array in component, it will show the first message at the top, then second message, and so on. And we put the new message at the top, then we reverse this, so new message will at the bottom, then the second new message, then and so on. In div element, we'll add a pair of curly brackets, then we can write a JS code. We will loop through each message from message list. So message list we'll call map method to map each message from this list. We'll pass a arrow function as argument. This arrow function can capture each message. So let's give it a name item. Then let's also add a index. First, let's get the username from message. Let's create a variable user name from message equal to, we'll call item split method. We will split this message by colon. Then first element is username, so its index number is 0. We will return a p element. In this p element, we will display this message item. Let's add a class name. We will add a conditional class name. So if the user name from message equal to current username, this username state question marker, we will give it a class message item with class user message, else the username from this message not equal the current username. So this means this message not from this current user. We will just give it a message item class. This message item class will add a font size, background color, and color, border radius, padding, and margin bottle. This user message will give it a different color. So if the message from current user, it will have a different color for background. Let's also add a key attribute for this key element. So key equal to, we just give it a key, it's index. So when we send a message, is username with colon with message content. We split this message item by this colon. We will get a username and the message content in an array. So username will be the first element in this array. So we can get a username from this message item. Then in this chat div element, after this message container element, we will create another div element. Let's add a class name. Let's give it a name input container. Then in this div element, let's add a input element type text value. We give it a value message. Let's add onChange event. We'll pass error function. And this error function can capture event E. Then we will set the value from the input field to the message state. So set message. Then we can get the value from this event E target the value. Let's also add a placeholder message. Let's add a button. Let's give it a content send. Let's add on click event. We'll pass a closure. In this closure, we will call send message function. Then after we send a message, we need change this message state to empty string. So send a message, we give it a value an empty string. Let's also add a disabled attribute. Disabled equal to, if the message state is an empty string, we will disable this button. So message.trim equal to empty string. I think we just finished our chat application. So first, let's start the server. Oh, server already run on port 3000. Then let's start our front-end client. We will run npm run div port 4000. Press enter. So it will run on the port 4000. We will open two web browsers and visit localhost 4000, and we got an error here. Use the effect must not return anything besides a function. So here we should return an error function. In this error function, we will call this socket.off. So error function, then we call socket.off. Then we refresh this page. There is no errors. In these two web browsers, first we need to enter a username to join the chat. So in first browser, let's enter name Kevin to join the chat. Second browser, let's enter name Jim to join the chat. In message field, let's type a message like hello to send the message. So it will show the user Kevin send the message hello. Also, it will show this message in second browser. In second browser, let's type a message hey. It will send this message Jim, hey. Let's send another message what's up. It will show message from Jim what's up, and in this browser it will show Jim what's up. Let's type cool. So this is how we develop a chat application by using NodeJs, ExpressJs, Socket.io, and React. Hope I'll see you next time.